Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Going to have a look at the weather next week, 10 days in today's video, which more or less takes us through the first 10 days or so of November. So we're going to be seeing a dry start to November and quite mild, but from around the weekend it's also going to start getting a little bit more unsettled. And I think these unsettled conditions might take us through into next week as well. So maybe some rain coming along in around a week or so's time, taking us into a 7 to 10 day time frame. Though the weather patterns remain really quite complicated, as they have been all autumn. So it could be that it won't be as wet in the south and the east, particularly as it is in the north and the west. But I'll show you everything that's going on in a second. Following on with that, just to say that on Wednesday, 1st of November, we will be starting the Christmas update. So they'll be getting going in terms of the video updates. Anyway, we've already done a couple of written posts for Christmas, but we'll be starting the video Christmas updates from Wednesday, and at the same time we'll be opening the Christmas shop again. So if you've got any Christmas shop to do at Amazon, hold off a couple more days, and then you'll be able to do it through Gav's Weather Vids, and I'll talk you through all of that when we get to Wednesday anyway. So let's get on with today's video, and we're going to begin with central temperature. We've just gone under 13 degrees. This was expected, so quite clearly now we aren't going to have the warmest October on record. We're well under the all-time central temperature for October set in 2001. Right now we're provisional up to the 29th at 12.9, an anomaly of 2.2 degrees above average. Now this is going to move down more because there's a frost overnight last night through the Midlands, and also of course today it could be quite a chilly day as well, so expect another couple of tenths of a degree to be knocked off that for today, and then there's always a downwards correction as well by around 0.2 or 0.3 of a degree. So we're probably going to finish up somewhere in the low to mid 12s, I would think, with the CET by the time we come to get everything together on the first day of November. So it's going to be a substantially warmer than average October, quite honestly. I suspect it will be a top 10 warm October, but it isn't going to be anywhere near the warmest October on record, and it is the final days actually of the month that are going to be the stopper on that. I suppose more widely, the bigger point is that we appear to have reverted back after having a couple of cooler months, or closer to average in July, and then cooler in August and September. After having 3 sort of cooler months from July to September, it looks like we've reverted back to having quite substantially warmer than average months once again. We'll bring you up to date with the central temperature for October on the first day of November, when we should have the October CET revealed. Right, looking ahead, and we'll have a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts for the next week to 10 days. We've got the ECWF here on the top, and the GFS is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 8,000 feet is now in the atmosphere. High pressure, low pressure, up being moved around by a jet stream running above. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. This is how the ECWF is looking. So it has a ridge out in the Atlantic and also extending to the north of the country, and then it all ties into this very deep ridge, this very big ridge here that we have across eastern, northeastern parts of Europe. And then we've got a cut-off trough down to the south. And the main polar vortex and jet stream is up there as well. Overall, that does look reasonably settled, but what you find with that is particularly southern areas close to this trough, cut-off low, would, for a time anyway, be at risk of some showery bursts of rain. The other thing with this is that although we have got high pressure to our north, which is normally quite a cold signature, or would be quite a cold signature in November, we're probably going to be dragging up sort of a southerly southeasterly actually between the ridge and the low pressure to the south, the trough to the south. So probably fairly mild actually as we go through to the 7 to 10 day time frame. Now, you see the GFS, it does look very different, to be honest. We've got below average heights up to the north up here, and then above average heights down there, and just bringing more of an Atlantic flow through in the 7 to 10 day time frame. And that's quite cool as well, because we are bringing the air northwest to southeast from Greenland, so quite coolish and unsettled on the GFS, a 7 to 10 day time frame. But you'll see that the EZF does look very, very different. So the two models are split in terms of the 7 to 10 day time frame, and as I said at the start of the video, it is still quite a confused picture, as it has been all autumn, really. Quite a confused picture as we are heading off into the 7 to 10 day sort of time frame. GFS Ensemble's data next, so we're looking at Derby today for the upper air temperatures and precipitation. So, deal with the upper air temperatures first of all. The red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average at Derby. Quite cold, as say today. It's going to turn milder for the next 2 or 3 days, and then cooling down into the weekend. This is the weekend. Just here, of course. After that, very close to the 30-year average, really, in this extended part of the ensemble. In terms of precipitation, so lots of dry weather for the rest of this week. We get through to the weekend and next week, and the rainfall spikes are coming back. GFS Ensembles looks like it wants to turn things rather unsettled. And with the upper air temperatures around here, quite coolish and unsettled, really, as we go through the weekend and into next week. This is how the surface temperature and air pressure ensembles are looking from the GFS model at Derby. So we start just here, quite a cold day today, with temperatures not getting above 10 degrees Celsius. It will turn milder as we get through to tomorrow, however, and on into the start of November, first couple of days of November, looking reasonably mild. But it looks like we've got a cooling trend there as we're heading into the weekend, and next week we find the temperatures going back down to, or even below, 10 degrees Celsius. And nights cooling as well, so another chilly night coming up tonight, but then after that, generally quite mild with the nights for a couple of nights, but gradually it looks like the minimum temperatures are trending down a little bit. So by the time we get through to next week, we might be seeing a chance of some frosty nights coming back once again. And just quickly have a look at the air pressure, by the way. So we start off at 1,030 millibars. Generally, the trend is downwards in air pressure through to the weekend. So going quite low with the air pressure by the weekend, before a bit of a recovery started to take place there as we go into the end of the first week and into the second week of November. Though a lot of scatter, so we've got some members of the ensemble that are bringing in high pressure up here, going high with pressure, but some that are quite low with pressure. So that does indicate the uncertainty at the 7 to 10 day time frame, and then beyond that into the second week of November. A lot of uncertainty for that period. Temperature anomalies look like this from the 30th of October to the 7th of November. Generally still a little bit above average, but not as big a deviation as we've had recently. So close to average, let's say, to a little bit milder than average for the UK and Ireland. Most parts of Europe also coming out a little bit warmer than average in the week ahead. Precipitation anomalies from the 30th of October to the 7th of November are looking really drier than average in most parts of Western Europe. It is more unsettled over in the east of Europe. I will expect these to trend more unsettled through the course of this week, but we'll see on that. It has been really quite a dry autumn, especially for southern and eastern parts of the country. Much, much wetter in the north and west. And one of the interesting things about October is that I think there will be a big east to west deviation in rainfall. So western parts of the country, I think, have had a very wet month, really. Southern and eastern parts of the country have actually had a very dry month during October, and we'll find out early in November just how those deviations have worked out. But it'd be quite interesting to see just how much difference there has been from the northwest to the southeast this month in terms of rainfall. Finally, just have a look at the GFS then. So this is Friday's chart, and high pressure is dominating weather. As I say, lots of dry weather coming up this week, and there's also going to be fairly mildish temperatures as well. So mild and dry running into the opening days of November. Weekend turns more unsettled. A cold front moves southwards and eastwards on Saturday, probably bringing outbreaks of rain. Once that gets out of the way, we go into a cooler northwesterly flow, still under quite an anticyclonic influence though, so there may be frost returning later in the weekend and into the start of next week. And then through the course of next week, it looks like low pressure is rolling back in off the Atlantic through the early part of the week, turning things more unsettled. And then we get through to day 10, which looks like this, Thursday, the 9th of November. And we find I've got quite a deep area of low pressure just to our southwest on this particular run of the GFS, with high pressure building over the top of it in that sort of position. So we are actually dragging up quite a mild southerly wind between the ridge that's building up here and the low pressure down here. But there could be quite a bit of rain, depends how close this area of low pressure was to get to country. That's the cut-off low that we saw on the height anomaly charts. So beyond this, you will think this low pressure is going to sink down into Biscay, and we probably get a build of pressure over top, which may eventually turn things a little bit cooler there as we go into the second week of November, possibly with some frost. This is how the ECF is looking, so fair amount of quiet weather on Friday, but in the week into weekend it does turn more unsettled. A cold front moves south and east on Saturday, taking rain with it. That gets out of the way for Sunday, which is bonfire night, of course. Winds turning to the north, they may bring wintry showers to northern parts of Scotland, possibly a risk of night frost as well in the second half of the weekend and into the early part of next week, with high pressure building in from the west and the wind coming in from the north. That does look quite chilly. Then this high pressure builds through the country Tuesday next week before it starts to get broken down quite quickly on Wednesday, with low pressure bringing rain, milder temperatures back in from off the Atlantic. That's how we finish up on day 10. Rather a messy looking chart again, so we've got ridging out to the west and extending through there. There's the cut-off low that's forming across France and presumably sinking down in towards Mediterranean. And of course the jet stream and the main sort of areas of low pressure are all up here. And quite where we go beyond that, beyond day 10, I'm not sure. I would suspect what may happen is that we build the pressure through the country and possibly set up quite a big area of high pressure, which could bring frost and fog through that second week of November. But that is quite speculative. So, it looks like we're going to continue to be reasonably mild over the remainder of the working week, but get through to the weekend and it turns cooler again, and there may be some frost coming up as we get through into the second half of next weekend, coinciding with the bonfire night period as well. And then next week there's a lot of uncertainty in relation to that. My hunch is that for the second week of November, watch out for high pressure building back in, possibly giving us a spell of frost and fog, but that is to be determined. Right, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.